In the aftermath of World War II, there were major developments in many different cultural aspects, and a major part of culture that greatly advanced in this time was movies. With new technologies being developed, there were many advancements in the way movies were made and presented, as well as many changes in the industry as a whole. There were many factors that contributed to the changing in the film industry, even including fears of communism, and we're going to talk about those changes today. There were a number of new technologies in the 1950s that greatly advanced the way movies were presented to the public. Three-strip Technicolor was developed in the 1930s and was very popular for allowing movies to be made in color. However, it was very expensive to do and needed specialized equipment, and as a result, it began to fade in the 1950s when other techniques were developed. One such technique was Eastman color, which was a single-strip film color developed by Kodak in 1950 that could be used with standard cameras, making it much more accessible. It was used in films such as Drums in the Deep South and The Magic Carpet in 1951, and quickly became the standard in filmmaking. Along with easier colored film, widescreen imagery was introduced with CinemaScope in 1953 and VistaVision in 1954, being introduced by 20th Century Fox and Paramount Pictures respectively. These lens systems made the ratio much wider than the 4:3 ratio that was standard before. Now the images were more than twice as wide as they were tall. The wider images, along with the higher resolution these lenses created, allowed for more cinematic and dramatic filmmaking. Films such as The Robe in 1953 used CinemaScope, while films like White Christmas in 1954 used VistaVision. These advancements allowed filmmakers to make larger-scale projects, meaning they could create larger film sets and scenes. Stereophonic sound was developed in the 1930s, but it became much more widespread in the 50s, being used together with CinemaScope in theaters. Stereophonic sound systems split the sound into 4 channels: left, center, right, and surround. This allowed for a more immersive experience, as well as allowing better sound in large theaters. Due to the changing trends in technology, as well as tensions due to fears of communism growing within the country, there were many changes within the film industry in the 1950s. In the late 1940s, a few major film studios such as Paramount and Warner Brothers had almost complete control over the industry, creating concerns about violations of antitrust laws. The United States vs. Paramount Pictures Supreme Court case in 1948 caused the studio system in Hollywood to be dismantled and any monopolies to be destroyed. Studios now had to compete for screen time in theaters rather than force theaters to play their films. Independent filmmaking also became more prominent in this time, with Hollywood becoming more driven by directors like Stanley Kramer, with films about political and social issues such as High Noon and The Defiant Ones. The environment of the Hollywood industry also changed a lot due to political tensions occurring at the time. In post-World War II America, there was a growing fear of communism in the Soviet Union. People did not want to allow communism to come into the United States, and the government realized that the film industry was a main way that communism could infiltrate the country. Because of these fears and tensions, many actors, directors, and others who worked in Hollywood were blacklisted for suspicions that they were supporting communism. It started with the Hollywood 10, who were suspended and not paid, and soon anyone thought to be a supporter of communism would not be hired in Hollywood.
The film noir evolution transitioned from noir films focused on crime stories with cynical detectives and shadowy cinematography to neo-noir psychological thrillers. Neo-noir films include stylized lighting, flawed protagonists, and more characters with violent and sexual values. Movies such as Sunset Boulevard and Touch of Evil incorporated tales of men being taken advantage of by powerful, sinister women. Marlon Brando and James Dean utilized their personal emotions and experiences on stage. With the rise of television in the 1950s, filmmakers sought to put the audiences back into theaters. Movies like Ben-Hur and The Ten Commandments showcase historical, biblical, and mythological themes. Marlon Brando starred in A Streetcar Named Desire, On the Waterfront, and The Wild One.
You saw some money?
You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody.
James Dean was featured in Rebel Without a Cause, East of Eden, and Giant.
Matter anyway, because we're moving.
I'm not tearing me loose again.
Well, this is news to me. Just why are we moving?
Oh, do I have to spell
You
it
are
out?
not going to use me as an excuse again.
I don't.
Every time you can't face yourself, you blame it on me.
That is not true.
Alfred Hitchcock frequently explored themes of guilt, obsession, and mistaken identities in his films Rear Window, Vertigo, and North by Northwest.